Welcome back. Right, let's get stuck into one of the most fundamental tenses in English, the past simple. It's true, many learners get the basics, but mastering the nuances is what makes your English sound natural. By the end of this session, you'll know precisely when and how to use this versatile tense, including those tricky irregular verbs, the negatives, questions, and the distinctive forms of be. Take your time, pause when you need a moment to take notes, and let's jump in. Where, why, and when we use the past simple. We use the past simple to describe actions, states, and events that began and finished at a specific time in the past. Think of it as a closed door. What happened inside is completely over. Key uses. Finished actions. Describing a single action that is now complete. Specific moments or times, used when the time is stated or clearly implied. Past states. Describing a past condition or situation that is no longer true, for example, how you felt, where you lived. Past routines or habits. Actions that were repeated regularly in the past but not anymore. Events that are completely over. The entire event, routine, or state has ended. Common time markers. You'll often find this tense paired with specific time expressions like yesterday, last week, in 2009, 2 days ago when I was a kid, and so on. Examples. I visited my cousin yesterday. Finished action at a specific time. She called me last night. Finished action. We watched a movie on Saturday. Finished action at a specific time. They traveled to Canada in 2019. Finished event, trip. He studied English 2 years ago. Finished action. The game started at 8. Specific moment. I lived in Paris. Past state, situation that is now over. She worked at a bank before. Past state situation. We needed help with the project. Past state situation. They opened the store early. Finished action. Did you know that in UK English there's often a bit of a difference in how we use the past simple versus the present perfect? While North Americans might say, I just ate lunch, a typical Brit would say, I've just eaten lunch, using the present perfect, because the action is very recent. However, if you specify the time, I ate lunch an hour ago, both varieties use the past simple. Brilliant. Now that we know where and why we use the past simple, let's start with the verbs that follow a nice, predictable pattern, the regular verbs. We'll look at the main rule and the crucial spelling changes. Here are the main spelling rules with clear examples. Most verbs, add ed. For instance, jump, jumped, learn, learned. Verbs ending in e, add d. For example, live, lived, save, saved. Consonant followed by y. We change y to I and add ed. Carry, carried, study, studied. Short vowel plus consonant, double the consonant. For example, stop, stopped, plan, planned. Do not double w, x, or y. Fix, fixed, snow, snowed. Notice British English often doubles final l, travel, travelled. Please be very careful when writing your exams. Choose a style of English and stick to it. If you are writing in British English, do not mix it with North American or vice versa. Doing so will sound peculiar to the reader and may result in an unpleasant grade. Always stick to only one style of writing. Now let's take these forms and use them in complete sentences. How to form the past simple regular verbs. The structure for forming the past simple with regular verbs couldn't be simpler, because the past form is the same for all subjects, I, you, he, she, it, we, they. You just need the verb's past form. Structure, subject, plus past verb form, plus the rest of your sentence. Here are 10 excellent examples showing this straightforward structure in action. I called my friend yesterday. She painted her room. They cleaned the kitchen. We played tennis. He walked to school. I watched the news. She cooked dinner. They opened the windows. We listened to music. He asked a good question. Right, you've mastered the regular verbs. Fantastic stuff. Regular verbs follow nice, predictable rules, but sadly, many of the most common verbs don't. Now we must turn our attention to the challenging but essential family of irregular verbs. They're the ones we simply have to memorize. Irregular verbs are the nonconformists of the English language. I'll put this section into a clear teaching format and add a helpful learning tip before we move on to the unique behavior of the verb be. Irregular verbs are verbs that do not follow the rule of adding ed to form the past simple. Instead, each one often has its own unique past form, which simply must be memorized. Common irregular verbs: go, went, have, had, do, did, put, come, came, see, saw, swim, swam, drink, drank. Here are some examples. She went to the shop. They had lunch early. He did his homework. I put the keys on the table. They came home late. We saw a rainbow. She made a cake. I found a coin. He took a break. We told him the news. Interesting fact. Some irregular verbs like put don't change at all between their base form and their past simple form. This makes them tricky because you rely entirely on the surrounding context, like a time marker, to know that the past simple is being used. You've cracked the irregular verbs. Well done. But there's one verb that changes more than any other and is truly in a league of its own when it comes to the past simple, be. Let's examine its unique structure now. The verb be is unique because it's the only verb in the simple tenses that changes its form depending on the subject. In the past simple, be has two irregular forms, was and were. Forms: I, he, she, it, was. You, we, they, were. Examples: I was tired. You were right. She was excited. He was late. It was cold. We were busy. They were at home. The movie was interesting. The streets were quiet. My friends were nervous. The verb be is the only verb in the past simple that doesn't use the auxiliary verb did to form its negative and question forms. For instance, you say, I wasn't happy, and were you happy, not I didn't be happy, or did you be happy? Right, we've covered the positive statements for regular verbs, irregular verbs, and the verb be. Now, let's see how to express what did not happen. This means looking at the past simple negative. We use the auxiliary verb did not, or the common contraction didn't, followed by the base form of the main verb. The main verb is never put into the past simple. The use of didn't, or did not, ensures the base form of the main verb is used. Structure: subject, did not or didn't, plus base form of the verb, plus rest of sentence. We use negatives to show something didn't happen. Here are some examples of the negative being used, often contrasting it with a positive past action. I played tennis yesterday, but I didn't play last week. She cooked dinner, but she didn't make dessert. They travelled to Italy, but they didn't visit Rome. We watched TV, but we didn't watch the news. He studied hard, but he didn't pass the test. I called you, but I didn't leave a message. She saw the film, but she didn't like it. They came early, but they didn't stay long. He had time, but he didn't help. We needed help, but we didn't ask. More short examples. I didn't watch it. She didn't call me. They didn't travel. We didn't finish. He didn't listen. I didn't understand. You didn't try. They didn't stay. She didn't work. We didn't agree. The longer form, did not, is generally only used for emphasis or in formal situations. For everyday speaking and informal writing, didn't is the standard choice. Brilliant. You've seen that the negative form for most verbs is simple and consistent. However, the verb be is different again, so let's look at its negative form on its own. Unlike all other verbs, the negative form of be in the past simple is formed simply by adding not after the verb form, was or were. It does not use the auxiliary didn't. How do we form it? We use was not or wasn't, and were not or weren't. Structure: subject plus was, were, plus not, plus the rest of the sentence. The contractions wasn't and weren't are very common in spoken English. Please keep in mind, this is about closure, finality. We stand here in the present, looking back. The vast expanse of the past simple is the ground beneath our feet. It tells the history of things that are done. When the curtain falls on a scene in the past, that is the past simple's moment. It is the finished point, the solitary marker that says, "This happened, it ended. We move on." Examples: I wasn't tired that afternoon. She wasn't late when she arrived to work. She wasn't angry when she saw the result. They weren't ready at that moment. He wasn't busy when she asked him to help. We weren't surprised when we heard that. It wasn't warm when we stepped outside. The shops weren't open when we arrived. The kids weren't hungry when I asked them. Right then, we've got positive statements and negative statements covered. To complete our tour of the past simple, we need to know how to ask about the past. So let's talk about questions. To ask a simple yes-no question in the past simple for all verbs except be, we use the auxiliary verb did at the start of the sentence. Structure: we use did followed by the subject and then the base form of the main verb. Just like the negative, the main verb is never in the past tense when did is present. Why do we use questions? To ask about actions that occurred in the past. To check information we might be unsure of. To get more details, often using question words like where, when, why, which would be placed before did. Please, have a look at these affirmatives versus questions. Notice how the main verb snaps back to its base form in the question. I watched it. Did you watch it? She cleaned the room. Did she clean the room? They travelled last year. Did they travel last year? He finished early. Did he finish early? We liked the movie. Did we like the movie? Examples: did you study? When did she call you? Did they arrive? Did he finish it? Why did we win? Did you enjoy it? Did she see you? Did they open the door? Did he help you? Did we talk yesterday? Interesting fact. When answering a past simple question, we use short answers that include the auxiliary verb. For example, did you finish your homework? Yes, I did. Or no, I didn't. We don't repeat the main verb in the short answer. Brilliant. You've mastered questions for regular and irregular verbs. Now, as our final piece of the puzzle, let's look at the special word order the verb be uses to form questions. Since the verb be doesn't use the auxiliary did, we form questions by simply inverting the word order. We place was or were before the subject. Structure: was or were plus subject plus the rest of the sentence. Was plus subject, I, he, she, it. Where plus subject, you, we, they. Affirmatives versus questions. Observe how the verb form changes place with the subject. He was tired. Was he tired? They were ready. Were they ready? It was cold. Was it cold? Examples: were you sick yesterday? Was she at home? Were they late? Was he angry? Were we correct? Was it difficult? Were the students tired? Was the room clean? Were the shops open? Was the weather nice? Excellent work today. You've successfully completed a comprehensive tour of the past simple tense. This is one of the most important tenses in English, and you've covered all the essential details that native speakers use to sound natural and precise. Now you know that we use the past simple to describe finished actions, past states, and completed routines, often with specific time markers like yesterday or last week. You can correctly form the past simple for regular verbs by adding ed and applying the necessary spelling rules. You've tackled the tricky verbs that don't take ed and know that these forms must be memorized. You understand that be is unique, using was or were for positive statements. With negatives, for all action verbs, you know the structure is did not or didn't, plus the base form of the verb. The main verb is not put into the past simple. You know that be is made negative by adding not after was or were. You know how to form questions by inverting the word order. To truly master the past simple and make it automatic, you need to use it actively. As it says, you don't use it, you lose it. Here are 3 simple, effective practice methods you can use right now. Take a moment now and mentally or verbally walk through everything you did yesterday. This forces you to use the core structure, including those tricky irregular verbs. Start with something like, yesterday morning I woke up early. I had a quick coffee, but I didn't eat breakfast. Then I walked to the office. Try to use at least 5 different irregular verbs and 3 negative sentences. Another great practice is thinking of a movie you watched, a book you read, or a historical event, and retell it to a friend or even write it down. Stories naturally require a consistent use of the past simple. For example, the main character was a scientist. She discovered a rare element, but her colleagues didn't believe her. Another useful technique is sentence building with time markers. Use the time markers we learned to build new sentences daily. Try this. Use in 2010 plus a past state, or 3 days ago plus a completed action. For example, we were on holiday in 2010. I didn't finish my book 3 days ago. Use the examples from this lesson to guide you. They provide a perfect reference for correct structure. Lovely! Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy learning!